Good morning, friends. This is Dr. Bill here, and this week I'm going to be focusing on fourth grade reading and writing as well as math problems. This is going to be question number 16 on the fourth grade math test from last year that only got 20% correct as a state average. And as I was reading and I saw there were several reasons why the kids could have had some problems. And a lot of it has to do with gaps in your programs and curriculums or ways that we're teaching things that are not getting through to the kids. So take the ideas you like, throw away the ones you don't. Let me show you exactly how I would have solved this problem that only had 20% correct in fourth grade across the entire state of Texas. Okay, problem periods, question mark. Do not let your kids get confused with the information in the problem and what's being asked in the question. Okay, so if we start from the top, it says the amount of money Omar has left after buying a snack is shown. All right, so that's how much change he has. Your kids have to understand that. First thing, if they don't understand the value of coins and bills, then I suggest you go to my mathematics binder, page 28 and 29, so your kids can see what each one looks like. And my problem was that the quarters and the dimes there, if your kids didn't zoom in a little bit to see, they were going to have a hard time seeing that this here was a dime. These here are dimes, not pennies or nickels. So when they practice it enough, then you can have this front and back uh, laminated, and your kids can fill in what is this called and what is its value, just like I have it here on the page before. So all they have to do is flip. So in this problem, they were using $10 bills, four of them, $5 bills, one of them, three quarters at 25 cents each, and two dimes at 10 cents each. So that's where things could have gone wrong first. Next thing, he used a $50 bill to buy the snack. So your students have to understand that means $50 and nothing else. Okay. They have to understand that with whole numbers, when we're talking about money, it's probably best to, on the lab work, lab, write that down for you, the lined and the blank paper that you allow them to use for the test, that they write some of these things down. This would have a number 16. So question with a question mark, how much money does does Omar spend on the snacks in dollars and cents? So, and is a decimal in this situation, and most of the time in money. So, how much change you subtract? You were trying to figure out how much change you would get. And if you wanted to know how much spent, you subtract. So this was a two-step problem. Step one was using page 28 and 29. Let's break down the amounts. $10 bills, I have four of them at 10, 20, 30, $40 and no cents. $5 bills, I have one of them, $5 and no cents. Quarters, we have 3 of them at $0.75. Dimes, we have 2 of them at $0.20. So how much change he got, which was how much left, you'd have to add this up. What I highly recommend you do is make what I call a highway of decimals, where all of the dimes and pennies are on one side of the decimal. The decimal is lined up in a straight line, and all of the dollars and the $10 bills are on the other side of the decimal. So how much change was $45.95. Step 1. So what happened possibly was all of your students, the 80%, either didn't understand the value of money, or they only did step 1 and entered it into the computer calculator that was written on that page just below this little value box. Okay, so how much spent, you subtract. So I needed to have taken the $50 and no cents and subtract $45.95. And again, I would have gotten a highway of decimals. And so what I recommend you do, for those of you who have the mathematics chart that I have on sale for $7.50 right now for 25 of these cool things, there's how much I paid, $50 and no cents. My change was $45.95. So how much spent, fix that because it's getting faded because I'm touching it. How much spent, you subtract. So here's the next thing where your kids have a lot of trouble subtracting across zeros. So since 0 was smaller than 5, I cannot take away 5 from nothing. So you say, okay, can I borrow from the tens or the dimes? No. Can I borrow from the dollars and the dimes? No, there's not any. But I do have a $10 bill. So you can say, well, 500 dimes are what's there. So all you're teaching your students, instead of borrowing and regrouping several times, just have them do it one time. If I borrow 1 dime from 500 dimes, I have 499 dimes left. That allows me to move one of those dimes over to the hundredths, also known as pennies. So then you can subtract 5 from 10 and get 5, or 10 minus 5 equals 5. 9 minus 9 equals 0, or subtract 9 from 9, you would get 0. And you would subtract 5 from 9 and get 4, or 9 minus 5 equals 4. I suggest you do it both ways. And then, of course, the 4 minus 4 is nothing there, or subtract 4 from 4, you get nothing. So how much you spent, you subtract is going to be $4.05. That's when you enter the second step that was required. So as I mentioned, A, your students didn't understand the value of money. B, they only did step one and entered it into the calculator, $45.95. C, they didn't know how to align decimals for adding and subtracting. Or they didn't understand that when you're trying to find out how much money is spent, you subtract it from the change that you got based on how much you paid. So the only thing left, because you can highlight in the online test, is how much you started out with, how much you had left, how much change, and then how much spent you subtract, and you would get that $4.05 that we saw on our mathematics chart. And then when you use these kind, you can simply erase. Nice to have a Kleenex because it does fill up eventually. Laminate these and you'll be able to use this numerous times, and it's sort of like a glorified place value chart, or what you might call a grid chart that kids really struggle with when the answers are not there, like this one here. And that's how I would have solved this problem. Please do me a huge favor and share this with your math teacher friends, because I will be posting it on my Come On Sense math page, as well as my reading writing page, and vice versa. I'll share some of my reading lessons on the math page. That way you can help your colleagues, your partners, whatever you call them. If you're self-contained, then you need to join both pages. All right. Thanks and God bless.